At one point in time, Francis Ngannou was one of UFC owner Dana White's most favorite fighters.
Francis Ngannou has the world record for the most powerful punch. His punch is the equivalent to 96 horsepower, which is equal to getting hit by a Ford Escort going as fast as it can. Holy shit.
But after taking over the UFC heavyweight division, things quickly changed.
Francis was like, I was all about Francis in the beginning, and then I found out who Francis was. And I told the two guys who asked me not to cut Francis, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Francis isn't a good guy. He plays the good guy. I don't understand the language, and so he seems like he's a nice guy. He's not, and he's just not a guy that I wanted to be in business with.
So how and why did one of the most dominant and loved forces of the UFC end up departing the organization whilst in prime position as the heavyweight champion and become Dana White's most hated fighter in the process? Well, firstly, we need to understand what made Francis Ngannou not just a UFC champion, but truly a once-in-a-lifetime fighter. Growing up in the dusty streets of Beatty, Cameroon, Francis Ngannou had to work in the sand mines to make ends meet, but his pay was rarely enough.
We had to work to contribute at home, to buy oil, to buy food, and also for our scholarship, for books.
For that reason, Ngannou hated his childhood.
I didn't like my life, and I always feel like I missed my childhood.
As Ngannou grew up, he developed a keen interest in boxing, but since opportunities were few and far between in his native Cameroon, he had to take a life-threatening trip to Europe. Ngannou had to walk through the Sahara Desert to illegally enter Spain, but he was arrested and sent back on his first attempt. In his second attempt, he made it to France, but life wasn't easy there either, as he had to live on the streets for the first 2 years. Ngannou's tough life changed when he found a local boxing club coached by Didier Carmont, who convinced the gym to let him train for free, considering his circumstances. From there, Francis was introduced to the head coach of MMA Factory, Bernard Lopez, who saw that he had potential as an MMA fighter. Lopez took the big Cameroonian in, trained him for free from the ground up, and turned him into the Predator.
I was straight up with them, like, I have no money, I have nothing, but I want to be a world champion.
Before long, Ngannou was destroying local opponents, which landed him a UFC contract in 2015. In just a few years, Ngannou went undefeated in the UFC and earned a shot at the heavyweight title against Stipe Miocic at UFC 220, but came up short. Instead of falling apart like many rising stars, he bounced back stronger, eventually winning the belt in a Stipe Miocic rematch at UFC 260 by knockout, becoming one of the scariest UFC champions in the process.
Yeah, no, he looked damn good. He looked incredible, man. And obviously you saw a lot of things from him tonight that we hadn't seen from him in the past. Head kicks, leg kicks, really good grappling, takedown defense, scary.
I feel great, man. You know, it's been 3 years that I've been living without it. I always thought that I could have it 3 years ago. So tonight there wasn't a place for mistake. So.
Now with UFC gold in his possession, things were surprisingly about to go downhill from here between Ngannou and the UFC, because after winning gold, Ngannou made it clear that his dream wasn't just about MMA, as he wanted to follow his idol Mike Tyson into the boxing world. However, Dana White and the UFC weren't willing to make it happen. This was the second big crack in their relationship since Ngannou became champ, the first being Ngannou's frustration with low pay, which he openly talked about after fighting out his contract and defending his title against Cyril Gane at UFC 270, where Dana refused to put the belt on the champ.
I noticed Mick Maynard put the belt on you and not Dana. Was that at your request? You didn't want Dana to do that, or why did that happen?
I don't know. You have to ask him.
What is the biggest issue from your standpoint? Is it simply money, or is it the way you're treated?
No, it's not simply money. I mean, obviously, money is a part of it, but it's also the term of the contract that I don't agree with it. You know, I don't feel like it's fair. I don't feel like I'm a free man. I don't feel like, I don't feel like I've been treated good.
Apart from the chance to box and have bigger paychecks, there were a lot of other things that Ngannou wanted in order to sign a new UFC contract, including a bigger slice of the pie for not just him, but all fighters, as well as better health insurance and better sponsorship opportunities.
But I think it's something that everybody should at least have a right to claim for what's best for him, you know, because at the end of the day, we put a lot of work in this job. We take a lot in our body to make it happen, so at least we can have a fair and square deal.
Despite their rotting relationship, Dana did everything in his power to make Ngannou stay. In fact, he offered him so much money that Ngannou would have become the highest paid heavyweight in the promotion's history.
We offered Francis a deal that would have made him the highest paid heavyweight in the history of the company. More than Lesnar, more than anybody. And he turned the deal down.
Context, Brock Lesnar is the highest paid heavyweight in UFC history, and he raked in a whopping $8 million for his fight against Mark Hunt at UFC 200. That's a lot of money for a UFC fighter, but Ngannou still wouldn't oblige, and soon after, parted ways with the UFC in one of the shocking headlines of 2023. And let's just say that this was about to be the best decision of Ngannou's life. Ngannou vacated his heavyweight title and walked away from a potential dream matchup with Jon Jones.
I think Jon Jones is just part of the system that I stood up against, and that at some point was trying to stand on my way until they are not in my way anymore.
Speaking on the matter, Dana wasted no time painting a picture that Ngannou was ducking Jon Jones because he was too much of a risk.
Francis wants to take zero risks. Doesn't want to take any chances. And he obviously didn't want to take a chance against Jon Jones.
Ngannou responded to the claims, denying that that was ever the case.
They have also said that I'm scared of fighting Jon Jones or somebody else, which I don't know where they came from with that one. That sounds very ridiculous, in my opinion, with all due respect. Because I've been calling for this fight for over 2 years. I've been waiting for this fight forever.
So anyway, Ngannou's initial post-UFC days were full of failed negotiations with other top MMA promotions because no one could afford him. And that's when the UFC PR machine started targeting him, basically suggesting that his decision to leave the UFC would come back to haunt him.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks too because Francis was the man, right? And he leaves, and now it seems like the options are very limited. You sometimes have to just bite the bullet and go, man, you know what? I'm gonna go back to what's familiar.
Ngannou ignored all the noise and focused on finding the right deal. In May 2023, he signed with the PFL, landing a multi-million-dollar contract, a role in the organization, and the chance to step in the boxing ring with legends like Tyson Fury, who had been calling him out. Of course, not everyone was happy about it, and one certain someone even called the PFL deal quote-unquote bullshit.
I know how this story ends. I get what Francis is doing. I wish the PFL all the luck in the world. I wish him all the luck in the world. It's just not what we do here. This whole thing is just a bunch of bullshit. So that's my 2 cents.
5 months later, Ngannou proved Dana wrong once again after he got booked for his professional boxing debut against the legendary Tyson Fury with life-changing money involved.
I'm going to knock that big stiff spark out. My son. And there's nothing he can do about it. My son. No matter who he trains with, no matter what he brings on the night, I'm knocking you spark out on Saturday night. Game over. Out cold. That right hand is going to detonate right in your face, you big ugly dotter.
Despite being the underdog, Ngannou stunned everyone when he dropped Fury with a counter left in the 3rd round. From there on, the fight turned into a brutal battle, with many believing Ngannou had done enough to win. But in the end, the judges gave the win to Fury by split decision. Still, Ngannou earned massive praise for his incredible performance.
You're in there on the night. I done the best I could. That's it. There's no excuses.
Now he's a superstar. He drops Tyson Fury. He beats him up in the 8th round. It was wild.
It was crazy to watch.
Wild to watch. Like, I can't
crazy
believe
to watch.
I was on the seat of my fucking chair.
Hoping he was winning too.
I was
like,
cushions.
please win, please
grabbing
win.
cushions, twisting in the 8th round. Like, Jesus. Oh my God, he's got him. And I thought he won the decision. A lot of people thought he won the decision. It's a very close fight. I mean, you can maybe say that Tyson Fury, I mean, you could kind of see an argument that he maybe could have won. I don't think so, though. And in my mind, he won the fight. And I think that's one of the most extraordinary accomplishments in combat sports history.
Ngannou earned a jaw-dropping $10 million for his fight against Tyson Fury and another $20 million at least when he faced Anthony Joshua in his second professional boxing match a few months later. But the fight with Joshua brought a tough reality for Ngannou as he was knocked out cold. Meanwhile, Dana White was grinning again, finally getting some sort of a win in this ongoing saga.
What did you make of that finish in the Francis fight?
What do you mean? What did I make?
Yeah,
what did I make of it?
When you saw it, like it was. People are saying it's one of the more violent knockouts in boxing history.
Yeah, I mean, going into the Fury fight, if Fury trained for the fight and didn't show up and, look like he ate Tyson Fury, it's probably the way that fight would have ended too.
Many considered the Joshua loss as Ngannou's end, but he silenced his critics once again by returning to MMA and beating Renan Ferreira to win the PFL heavyweight title and bag more millions to fill up his bank account, all while proving that he was still as dangerous as ever. Since parting ways with the UFC, Francis Ngannou has made his name in the boxing world, made over $30 million, and has won a belt in a promotion that is the UFC's top rival. He's pretty much proving every single one of Dana's words wrong, one fight at a time. The Cameroonian has arguably single-handedly won against the powerful UFC, and that is exactly why Dana White hates him. Regardless, who do you guys think is right in this situation? Is Dana just salty about a dude who stood up to poor fighter treatment, or was Francis expecting too much? If you enjoyed the video, be sure to check out times where cocky UFC fighters got destroyed and humbled by their opponents.